occupied the position just a few years ago. Geoff Reagan was the Speaker of the House of Commons, and he's live with us, I believe, from Halifax. Hi, Mr. Reagan. Great to see you.
Great to see you, Vassy.
We heard all the candidates who were running for this job talk about the prospect or their desire to restore decorum. Is that necessary, do you think?
I think it is. I view our House of Commons as the central focus of our democracy and as the image of our democracy. And I think that if we want people to have confidence in democracy, I would like to see that image improved. At the same time, it is a competition. It is an adversarial system. There should be a competition between the parties. They should be able to be rigorous and forceful in debate. But I always felt that, or certainly by the time I became Speaker, and even before that, I came to the conclusion that that heckling was a problem, that wasn't a good thing, that wasn't necessary, that didn't achieve anything except to try to intimidate people. And I think that we could do without it. And I wish the new Speaker every success in his attempts to succeed in that regard.
Based on the time you spent in the role, how challenging is it to achieve the balance you just mentioned? The idea that this is a competition, there is a level of partisanship, I mean, we're in politics after all, but that the stuff like the heckling can often serve as, to create a negative impression among Canadians.
I think it's a real challenge. You know, on the one hand, you have the right of free expression, which is very important for every member, and it's a vital thing for the Speaker to enforce. The Speaker's there to help make sure that the executive, the Prime Minister and Cabinet, report to the House of Commons, are answerable to the House of Commons, or can be held accountable by the House of Commons, and not the other way around. And in the same sense, the Speaker is the servant not of the Prime Minister, not of the government, but of the House and its representative. So it's this in our democracy, and that's why, as Speaker, for example, I sometimes ruled against the government. And there were sometimes the best days were the days when each side was equally unhappy with me. But that's the way it goes, and that's the responsibility of the job.
I say the same thing when I go home at night. Was it difficult at all? I mean, I think that obviously leading into this election, there's a lot of debate, I think, here in the House of Commons about partisanship and who is partisan, who isn't, the displays of partisanship. Was it difficult to step outside of your partisan leanings in your capacity as Speaker?
I don't think so. I think, I mean, it reminds me of when you become a federal minister. You take on the duty, you feel the sense of duty. As I've said to others, you know, as a member of Parliament, you're responsible to all the people who voted for you and those who didn't too, everyone in your constituency. You become a federal minister, you're responsible to the whole country, and you have to think about the whole country and its issues. And as the Speaker, you have a responsibility to all members of the House, and especially to the House as an institution.
And speaking of that point, I do have to ask you, Mr. Reagan, just for your general impressions about what unfolded to kind of provide the impetus for this election. And by that, I mean the circumstances that led to Anthony Rotas' resignation. As you saw that kind of play out in the days following the recognition of that individual in the House after President Zelensky's address, what was going through your mind?
Well, look, I thought it was a very regrettable incident. It was a serious error. It didn't surprise me in view of that my friend Anthony Rota took the step he did eventually, and I respect his decision, and I certainly wish him well, because there's no question it's an important role, and it's important to me in terms of the institution of the Speaker. It's a very important institution in our democracy, and it's a challenge to uphold a very high level. And so I wish Mr. Fergus, who's a dear friend, the very best and every success. And I think his chances of being much better than I ever was are probably very good.
If he may already have, but if he does call and asks for your advice, what is the chief piece of advice that you would give him in this role?
Well, I'll think of some more, but perhaps it's the one that was given to me by my Director of Communications early in my term after a very frustrating question period. She told me the story of when former Speaker Gilbert Parent was the host of the Commonwealth Speakers Conference, and he asked the Speaker from India, how do you control over 500 members? And the Speaker answered, I don't. I control myself. And that was the single best piece of advice I think I can recall getting as Speaker.
I like it. Also, advice I can use too. Thanks, Mr. Reagan. A real pleasure to have you on our program tonight.
Thanks very much.